What's up, folks? In this video, you're gonna learn our brand new DIY Epoxy Flake floor system. I'm teaching step by step how to completely renew your worn out, cracked concrete floor. There's no need for a professional contractor. I got a quote for over $5,000 to flake this floor. You're gonna learn how to do it for thousands less. Stay tuned and enjoy the video. Okay, so phase one of our Epoxy Flake floor system is prepping our concrete and filling any cracks. Today's project is over ancient garage floor. Like most garages, this one's seen better days. It's got oil spills, dirt, and Lord knows what else is completely caked into this concrete. So first things first, I'm gonna clear everything out and give it a good wash. Degrease this floor so we can get ready to start grinding to prep for our epoxy flakes. We simplified and improved our flooring system for the do-it-yourselfer. We extended the working time, we took out the terrible smell without sacrificing durability. A professionally installed flake floor this size would cost about $4,000 to $5,000, where if you follow the instructions in this video and do it yourself, you'll get professional looking results with a cost of about $700. So as you can see, you really don't need to go that deep with your grinder blade. I'm just kind of letting the weight of the grinder go along my crack, and I'm creating just a little bit of a valley. I'll get all that dust out to bring in the crack patch, but as you can see, there's gonna be room for the crack patch here, where right here, you're not gonna get anything in there. I'm using a grinder with a diamond cut blade on it. Make sure anytime you're grinding concrete to wear your PPE and ventilate that area. I'll put a couple links in the descriptions for you guys to find all the tools and materials I use on this project, so make sure to check out those in the description below. And while you're at it, subscribe to our channel. We have a bunch of new floor projects about to drop, so ring that bell so you don't miss a single second. So crack like this, when using the epoxy colored flake system like I'm installing on this project, any crack larger than a playing card is what you're gonna want to expand for the crack patch. These little hairline things like that, the moisture sealing epoxy is gonna saturate into that and seal it up just fine. Anything larger than a playing card, you wanna open it up, clean out the crack, and apply a little crack patch. Our epoxy gel floor patch is a 1-to-1 ratio epoxy that you mix with a stick and putty knife until you have a uniform color. It's as simple as that. You have about 45 minutes of working time with this product, so when doing larger areas, I'd recommend splitting up your batches. You're just gonna mix with that putty knife until a uniform color is achieved. I then take small amounts of the crack patch and overfill the cracks. I'll come back with a stiff putty knife to remove the excess material. A pro tip here, remove extra material while the crack patch is still wet for quicker grinding and leveling on the next step. The crack patch is cured and ready to sand in 4 to 8 hours. I'll then look across my entire project, look for any pits or dings or mounting holes, fill those, so the next step lays out nice and smooth. Let the sun shine, let the sun shine in, the sun shining. You can clean the crack patch off your tools using 91% isopropyl alcohol. Just spray a little on, then kind of use a little elbow grease with a gloved hand and rub on it, spray it again, and it just comes right off. Put it in a disposable box so the residue gets disposed of properly. All right, that's a wrap, day one. Well, day two actually. Day one, we did some scrubbing, some cleaning. We cleaned out this bad boy. Day two, I ground those cracks, applied the concrete crack patch. I'm gonna let this cure overnight. We'll be back tomorrow. That's when I got the big boy. I'm gonna go to the rental yard and rent a grinder. I have a 7-inch diamond cup wheel, they're called. You could pick those up at the hardware store or Amazon. That goes on the more heavy duty grinder, but you could grind this whole floor on your hands and knees and a little bit of elbow grease. using that 7-inch cup wheel. But an easier method, keeping you off your hands and knees, would be that walk behind grinder. It's $175 for the full day. We're gonna abrade this entire slab. It's gonna take the crack patch down to the concrete level. It's gonna grind the whole floor, then we're gonna clean that out. Day 2 is a wrap. I'm gonna shut this door down, let this epoxy cure, and then we'll be back tomorrow for the next step. All right, we're back. The floor patch is dried. We're gonna use this floor grinder to grind that down, and at the same time, open up the concrete so that first layer of our Moisture Seal Epoxy bonds tenaciously. From my many years in Stone Coat customer service, I know some of you might be asking, Mitch, why do I have to grind this floor? Can I skip this step? You definitely do not want to skip this step. Most garages, and this one in particular, have years of dirt and oil caked into the concrete and fills up those pores. We want to make sure none of that is present when we gear up to apply our Moisture Seal epoxy layer. Concrete is very porous, and by opening it up with a grinder, it will allow the Moisture Seal to penetrate deep into the concrete like roots to permanently seal the surface, preventing moisture from building up and causing a delamination. This will remove any high points and imperfections for a seamless, professional looking floor. I start out with the perimeter using a 7-inch diamond cup wheel on my handheld grinder with a dust shroud. I then hit the field using the larger grinder and vacuum up that dust before moving on to the next step. Let's test the moisture of this slab. I just ground my floor. I'm gonna tape down a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of plastic. I'll tape it all the way around. What I'm testing to see if there's any moisture off-gassing from the bottom of my slab. All right, we'll let that sit. I'll be back tomorrow about 18 hours from right now. You come back if this is wet. Next step is your sodium chloride test. You can pick those up in the link in the description below. It comes with some sodium chloride. You weigh that. You then put that in, open the lid, put a little dome over it. 24 hours later, you weigh it again. That tells you exactly on a scientific level how much moisture is coming out of that slab. But no need for that test if this plastic and slab is dry when we come back tomorrow. All right, the prep work, it's complete. The next step, we're gonna apply the moisture sealing epoxy to the vertical parts of this garage. That's a cool feature of our new Epoxy Flooring Flake system. You could hit those verticals. So we're gonna mix up our material, then we'll apply it with a roller and a paintbrush. Just a light coat is all that's necessary, and then we'll start flaking the vertical. And then we're applying the Epoxy Moisture Sealing Primer to the entire garage. And then we're feeding chickens with that flake. If you can roll paint on a wall, you can apply the Epoxy Flooring Flake system. Learn right now, let's go to work. We currently have 5 different epoxy flake colors. Head to our website stonecoatcountertops.com to pick or build your own kit. No matter what size your flooring project is, we teach you step by step in this video, as well as our written instructions to help guide you through your project for absolutely no cost. You got this. All right, we're gonna mix up our moisture sealing epoxy primer. It's a 2-to-1. I'm gonna pour both materials into this larger bucket, then mix by hand. You could also mix with a paddle mixer and a drill. We're gonna take time to scrape the sides and bottom of the bucket to ensure we have a good mix. All right, you wanna be sure to mix part A thoroughly before you combine both parts A and B. Our Moisture Seal Epoxy Primer is a 2-to-1 roll-on vapor barrier that is going to adhere to that open concrete and create an extreme bond. This step has become industry standard when applying an epoxy floor over concrete. We took our industrial grade Moisture Seal Primer and formulated it for the DIYer with tons of working time and no nasty smell without sacrificing durability. The sealant does all the hard work for you. It's a self-leveling product that doesn't stink. It covers small imperfections and will give the surface a nice smooth layer and a base color to work with. Our Moisture Seal Epoxy Primer comes in 3 colors: tan, gray, and black. All right, a couple pro tips when applying the Moisture Seal to a vertical wall. You're gonna apply it nice and thin, and especially cinder block, it's very porous. You roll it in, you let it absorb in, and right before we come back and flake the wall, we'll give it a quick once over again with a little more material. You do not want to apply so much material that it's gonna run and drag and puddle up on the flat part of your garage. All right, we applied that first coat, it's saturated in. We're gonna come back with a real light coat right before you broadcast, and this thing's gonna come to life. You can see how it's like the block absorbs in that resin. So that's that's not enough epoxy on there. So come back just with a quick glaze coat, and we're ready to flake. So I'm kind of throwing up to get up high underneath that sheetrock lift, and then the stuff that comes down, you use that to flick it right back up on your wall. So there's multiple ways to flake a garage floor. There's a light flake, there's a mid flake, and then there's a full flake, and that's all dependent on how much material you're applying to the coating. So what you're seeing here on this vertical is a complete full flake, where I'm broadcasting my flakes until it's completely saturated. We'll come back when it dries and scrape off any loose and apply our top coat right to it, which encapsulates that flake and protects it, keeps it on the wall. This Moisture Seal is open for so long, I'm not in a mega rush. I don't have to panic and rush myself through this. I'm really taking my time, getting it to look as uniform as possible. And as you broadcast it on, you'll see nothing stick. It'll fall right to the deck. That's when you know you're ready to move on. And I just kind of get my scraps at the bottom, bring them down, because I'm gonna come back after this step, we're gonna roll out the Moisture Seal on the deck. For the light flake look, it's about a half a pound of our colored flake per 1 car garage. That's about 290 square feet. The garage we're working with today is about a garage and a half, where we could park in here, but you have a couple feet on either side. A neat aspect of using this flake floor, I'm gonna scrape up all my loose flake here, and I'd be able to broadcast that over my garage. When I scrape out the floor after it cures, I could save that up. If I'm a contractor, I'm doing this for a living, I could box that up and use it on my next job. I have extra help on this project. If you're doing this all by yourself, just do this in sections. I'd roll on my first coat of Moisture Seal, let that absorb. I'd come back, hit that second very light coat and start broadcasting in probably 10-foot sections. That's probably what I'm about to do. Big tanks like this, you're gonna wanna prep the bottom so you don't get epoxy running up. You wanna trim it really pretty. And if this were ever to fail, which they don't, this is my pressure tank for my house, I would remove that. I could always patch it, or I could find, they often sell like these trim kits for these to catch excess water if they were to leak. It's a little trim basin, so that's something you could put over that. But really, if I had some of this left over, a little bit of Moisture Seal, if this were ever to fail, I could easily patch that and you would never know the difference. If this is your customer's house, you're not gonna wanna disassemble their entire well system to do the floor. You're gonna work around that. Or if you do wanna go that route, I would definitely suggest hiring a professional plumber to tackle something like that. The vertical step is complete. We're gonna go get any loose flake. We'll sweep that up. I'll put it in a bucket, and then we're gonna broadcast that all over the floor. These putty knives work really well to scrape that excess flake that's piling up right as the vertical becomes horizontal. So I'll scrape that, sweep it up, scoop it in a bucket.
We're gonna use what's left over from that first batch and mix up another kit and apply that to the rest of the floor.
Guys, spiked shoes are a must whenever walking on epoxy. They sell low, medium, and high grades of this. We'll leave a link in the description below to our favorite spiked shoe. It keeps you on your toes, on your feet, and not slipping and sliding in wet epoxy. All right, perimeter is complete. We're gonna apply the epoxy and ribbons on the floor. We'll spread it out with this magic trowel. This is a silicone tipped trowel used for spreading coatings on concrete or wood, and then we'll back roll with a 1/4-inch microfiber roller on a pole.
The Moisture Seal Epoxy Primer is applied at 1 ounce per square foot. I pour out ribbons of the material and use an 18-inch wide magic trowel to initially spread the colored epoxy. I'm looking for a thin, even coating. I'll come back with a 1/4-inch microfiber roller to back roll that entire project. This helps even out any high points left behind from spreading of the epoxy with that magic trowel. Thin to win here, folks. You want enough material to cover that concrete and allow the flake to stick to the floor, but not big puddles. Larger puddles of epoxy will cause that flake to sink and require you to throw out more flakes to cover that epoxy. I called up a professional in my area to come give me a quote on this epoxy flake floor. For a garage this size, my quote came back at just over $5,000. If you follow the steps in this video, you're gonna get professional results your first time, saving yourself tons of money.
The Moisture Seal application is complete. Again, to recap that, we're gonna mix up the material. We'll pour out thin ribbons spread it with our squeegee, and then back roll, and then cross hatch. What is cross hatching? We're gonna roll left to right, then we're gonna switch direction and roll front to back, cover the entire surface. What we're after is a nice thin coating, exactly what you see here. And then it's time to broadcast. It's time to do the flake right now. For our 1-car garage epoxy flake kit, you get 1 pound of flake. For light coverage, you're gonna use half that bag to lightly broadcast all over that garage floor to give it a visual contrast. You have light, you have mid, and you have heavy flake coverage. We're first gonna show you light, and then the mid coverage, you're gonna use 3 pounds of flake per 1-car garage. And if you wanna go full flake, you're gonna do 2 boxes of flake. We'll scrape off the excess, and then we're ready for the top coat. You're literally taking little pinches of the flake. You wanna start small and broadcast it high. Let the air and gravity disperse the flake as evenly as possible. You're pinching. It's like a couple tablespoons of flake per broadcast. And the higher you throw it, the more the air and gravity is gonna disperse it out and make it spread evenly. That's what we're looking for here, folks, is a uniform coating. And you can see just that small, very thin coating of the Moisture Seal is all that's necessary to hold that flake.
Right here, I'm just showing what light coverage looks like. After this, you're gonna see medium, and then finally a full coverage application. And I'll return tomorrow for the final step.
Guys, we're making it rain epoxy flakes. To help the channel grow, share the video, guys. Thank you so much for the support along the way. And don't forget, you got this. All right, that's your light flake system. Now we're gonna go to the mid coverage, which is about 3 pounds per single car garage instead of that ½ pound per single car garage. So what you're looking for is about 50% flake, 50% epoxy showing through.
For the half flake, half epoxy look, a small handful is a great amount. Just simply repeat the process. Toss it up in the sky and spread it around evenly. We'll let this cure and return tomorrow.
Don't overthink this step, folks. You're literally just throwing it up in the air and taking an overall look on the floor. Any spot that has too much flake, just add a little extra flake beside it. And then when you can't quite throw it up so high, I come and just run my fingers together and drop a little bit where I really want. The goal is to not drop a giant clump. It's gonna be hard to get that out.
No piles.
No big piles. You wanna just sprinkle. All right, for the full flake system, we're taking the same application method, but we're going full flake. You're gonna throw it up and as far as you can, letting gravity and wind take it down, make it more natural. We're going full coverage at this point, just like we did on the sides. We want flakes covering the entire layer of epoxy.
We've got 5 different color variations of our epoxy flake floor system to choose from. We've got 2 shades of brown, 2 shades of gray, and a really cool blue color. If any of those colors aren't what you're looking for, we have a custom ordering option. It's going to take an extended amount of time to get it to your door, but that option is still available for you. Epoxy flake floor systems are nearly indestructible and are going to last for a very long time.
All right, to save yourself some excessive time peeling tape, do that while the epoxy is still wet. It won't dry into your flake. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel the tape wherever it's hitting my flake excessively. Over here, you're okay. Down at the bottom of my tanks, up here where we have epoxy hitting flake, you wanna peel that right now while the epoxy is still wet. All right, that step is over. This is a full coverage look. We used a full 40-pound box, broadcasted the flake to where you cannot see the epoxy down below. We'll let this dry overnight. We'll be back tomorrow for the next step. We'll scrape the floor, we'll mix up our top coat, we'll add the non-slip grip, and then we'll be applying that with a roller. Another step, just using rollers. Guys, we showed you light, mid, and full flake coverage. Let me know in the comments below which one you like best. I'm back, it's the next day. The Moisture Seal Epoxy Primer is cured perfectly. It's time to scrape off any excess flake. If you're doing light or mid coverage, the scraping is not necessary. It's only necessary with the full flake coverage like you see right here. To scrape the floor, we're just gonna use light pressure, keep an angle. We're looking to get any loose flakes off, and then we're gonna sweep, blow out this garage, and then we're gonna mix up the polyaspartic top coat. We're gonna add the non-slip grip to it, and then this project will be complete. I'm gonna go front to back and then I switch my direction. I cross hatch. You don't wanna see any, like when we use that notch trowel, you'll see those iridescent lines. You don't wanna just go one direction, switch directions, go back the other way. And it's real light pressure. I'm not pushing real hard, just gliding that scraper right across the floor.
Any loose flakes? They gotta go. This step is easy. Don't overthink it. Just glide that scraper right across the floor.
So it's a lot like mowing the lawn. You don't want to leave any unscraped strips. That's going to catch your eye. So just take your time. I'm in no rush. Light pressure and mow the lawn so your dad don't yell at you by leaving little strips behind. All right, do not forget to scrape those vertical edges. There's going to be less flake vertically, but you do want to scrape before applying that top coat. So just light pressure, same deal. For the real tight spots around your equipment in the tight corners, get yourself a little flexible or stiff putty knife.
I have a lot of tag here.
Scrape the top. Man, that is good.
All right, folks, this project is nearly complete. Take your time in this step. Get any of those loose flakes out of there. It's going to make for an easier application of that polyaspartic top coat. If you leave any loose flakes, what happens is they can build up and create little high points or little mountains. So when you come back after the polyaspartic is dry, you got these little mountains of high points of flakes. So to keep that from happening, do a good job getting rid of those loose flakes and they won't build up on you.
All right, that step is complete. We scraped the bottoms, we scraped the sides, get any loose flake on out of here. I put my tarp, I lifted that up that was covering my floor. That caught all the flakes as I blew them out. You can save those for the next job. It's now time to re-tape off the perimeter, and then we're gonna mix up the top coat, add that non-slip grip, and then that's just rolling on the top coat. This job's almost done. This is an 18-inch, quarter-inch nap epoxy glide roller, perfect for rolling out the polyaspartic top coat. All right, guys, it's time to mix up our polyaspartic top coat. This top coating is insanely strong, very durable, scratch resistant, and it accepts our non-slip grit. So we're gonna first mix A and B together for about 2 to 3 minutes with a mixing stick. After we're done mixing the polyaspartic top coat for a couple minutes, we're gonna scoop in 1 ounce per gallon of our non-skid grit additive. This one kit will cover around 300 to 400 square feet. It's perfect for that 1-car garage, or like this. This is your 1.5 car garage where you can pull in 1 car and you have a few feet on either side. Just like any other Stone Coat product, we're gonna mix for 2 to 3 minutes and take time to scrape the sides and bottom. This is 100% solids, very low odor, easy to mix. It's not highly regulated. It ships to your door extremely fast. You've got about a 40 to 50 minute pot life, but once you mix, get it into that rolling pan, and then it's gonna be dry between 8 and 10 hours. Light foot traffic within 24, and depending on how cold it is, above 70-degree curing, you could drive on it within about 3 to 4 days. In the colder months, wait about a week. Pour in the non-skid additive and then thoroughly mix. Now we're ready to pour this top coat right into our rolling pan. A good practice to follow when using the non-skid grip, you want to give it a good stir before you pour it. The grit is heavy, so it's going to want to start settling in your coating. Well, once you roll that out nice and thin, it adds a perfect grip to keep it from slipping and sliding on those epoxy floors. From my experience, epoxy is about as slippery as tile is. But when it gets wet, it's a little slippy. When you add this non-slip grip, it's insurance, keeping you nice and steady on your feet. So because we have a vertical wall we're applying to, we have these 2 little roller pans. You're gonna use your 4-inch or 6-inch little rollers and apply that to the vertical aspect of your project. And then I'll come back and cross hatch with this bigger roller. Now that we're mixed, we got about 40 to 50 minutes to get the product applied to the sides and bottom of your project. We're gonna cross hatch that application, walk away. Those lap lines are gonna self-level out. There's no reason to be in a big hurry. You're just painting the floor, nice and easy, leisure day in the garage. You'll walk away, tomorrow it'll be ready to walk on. And then just like the scrape step, we want to mow the lawn here. We don't want any missed sections. Pro tip when using this big roller, it's going to be heavily saturated right out of that roller pan. apply it here, and then feather out that material left to right. It's really gonna spread it. This stuff goes a long way. So I'll feather it out, and then I'll come back to that center, pick up some more material, and then just work your way down.
And here we are at the final step, and what I'm looking for is my flakes to be fully encapsulated in that polyaspartic top coat. I don't want any edges of my flake exposed that may be able to be flaked off, or if you get your shoe on there and rotate, you don't want anything to catch on that.
All right, that step is complete. We're gonna let this cure overnight, then we'll get back in here and show you final results. But before you leave, just like any epoxy products, you wanna remove any tape that's gonna be touching your wet epoxy. It's much harder to remove the next day when that epoxy's cured. So my floor covering here at the front of the shop, any tape that's touching epoxy, we're gonna get that out right now. I'll close this door. You'll be able to walk on this floor within 24 hours.
You did it, you made it to the end. And for my way to say thank you, start out your comment with, "Hey Mitch." I'll personally hop in these comments and answer them myself. You got this, everybody. Thanks for watching.
That's a wrap, folks. The install's in our tail lights. Don't forget, I got how-to instructions every step along the way. And until next time, don't forget, from Stone Coat Countertops, you got this. We'll see you on the next video. You can do this!